I'm Robert Mackenzie, 67 years old, and I never imagined that at my 50th wedding anniversary dinner, the nephew I'd raised, like my own son, would try to have me declared mentally incompetent to steal everything my late wife and I had built together. My wife, Catherine, had passed away 2 years earlier, and I'd promised myself I would honor her memory by celebrating what would have been our golden anniversary. The restaurant overlooked Lake Ontario, the same view where I'd proposed 50 years ago. The private dining room was filled with family and friends. My daughter Sarah had flown in from Vancouver with her husband and kids. My son Michael drove up from Windsor with his family. And then there was Derek, my nephew, 32 years old, sitting beside his wife Amanda, both of them smiling at me across the table. Derek was my younger sister's boy. Margaret had died of cancer when Derek was only 8, and her husband had disappeared shortly after, leaving the kid with nowhere to go. Catherine and I took him in without hesitation. We raised him alongside our own children, paid for his education, helped him get his start in life. I'd sold my engineering firm 2 years ago for $18 million, and I'd always planned to split everything equally between Sarah, Michael, and Derek when my time came. The dinner was lovely. Sarah had arranged everything beautifully, even ordering Catherine's favorite wine. As dessert was being served, I excused myself to use the washroom. The restaurant had those individual single-occupancy ones down a hallway, and as I was washing my hands, I heard voices through the thin wall. The washroom shared a wall with a small service corridor. "Did you get him to sign it?" A woman's voice. "Amanda, not yet, but he will. I told you, I'm working on it." Derek's voice. "We don't have time," the lawyer said. "If he puts it in trust before we get power of attorney, we're finished. We need him declared incompetent this week." My hands froze over the sink, water still running. I know. Dr. Morrison said he can do the evaluation on Friday. He owes me from that golf course project. And the paperwork I forged? The bank statements showing the confusion? In my car. Once Morrison signs off on the cognitive decline, we file for guardianship. Then everything gets transferred before Sarah or Michael can interfere. I turned off the tap slowly, my heart pounding. I dried my hands on autopilot, my mind racing. They wanted to have me declared mentally incompetent. They'd forged bank statements. They had a doctor lined up to lie about my mental state. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds. Then I flushed the toilet, opened the door loudly, and walked back to the dining room with a smile on my face, like I hadn't heard a thing. For the rest of the dinner, I watched Derek and Amanda carefully. They were good actors. I'll give them that. Derek raised his glass for a toast to Uncle Robert and Aunt Catherine's incredible love story. Amanda laughed at my old engineering jokes. Neither of them showed any sign of the conversation I'd just overheard. When the evening ended, Derek hugged me at the door. "Love you, Uncle Robert. Let's grab lunch this week, okay? I want to talk to you about something important." "Of course," I said, patting his back. "Any time, son." The word tasted like ash in my mouth. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my study, the same room where Catherine and I used to do our finances together, and I thought about what to do. I could confront Derek directly, but then what? He'd deny everything. They'd already forged documents. They had a corrupt doctor on standby. Or I could call the police. But what evidence did I have? My word against theirs about a conversation I'd overheard through a bathroom wall. They'd say I was confused, mishearing things, that I was getting paranoid in my old age. They'd probably use it as evidence for the incompetency claim. No, I needed to be smarter than that. The next morning, I called my friend James, a retired detective who'd worked fraud cases for 30 years. We met at a Tim Hortons near his place in Scarborough. "Robert, what you're describing is elder financial abuse," James said after I told him everything. "It's more common than you'd think. And the fact they've got a doctor involved makes it trickier. You need documentation." "How do I get that?" "First, get yourself evaluated by your own doctor, someone you trust. Get it on record that you're cognitively fine. Second, don't sign anything Derek brings you. Third, and this is important, you need to record him trying to manipulate you." "Is that legal?" "In Ontario, you can record a conversation you're part of, without the other person's knowledge. It's called one-party consent. If Derek's going to try to get you to sign documents or admit to confusion, you need evidence of his intent. James helped me get a small digital recorder that looked like a pen. He also gave me the number of a lawyer who specialized in elder abuse cases. 2 days later, Derek called. "Uncle Robert, can I come by? I want to talk to you about your finances. I'm worried you might be having some trouble keeping track of things." "Sure," I said. "Come over tomorrow afternoon." I spent the next 24 hours preparing. I met with the lawyer, Eleanor Chen, a sharp woman in her 50s who'd handled dozens of cases like mine. She took notes, reviewed my medical records, and helped me understand my rights. "Mr. Mackenzie, if they attempt to have you declared incompetent, you have the right to contest it. The fact that you're sitting here, lucid and organized, already works in your favor, but we need to know the full extent of their scheme." That night, I also did something I probably shouldn't have. I called my old friend Marcus, who still ran his IT security company. "Marcus, I need you to check something for me. I think someone's been accessing my accounts." What Marcus found made my blood run cold. Over the past 6 months, someone had been logging into my online banking from an IP address registered to Derek's home office. They hadn't moved money yet, probably gathering information, preparing for when they'd have legal control. Marcus also found that Derek had created fake email accounts in my name, sending messages to himself about being confused about money matters. The evidence was piling up, but I needed Derek to incriminate himself directly. The next afternoon, Derek arrived right on time. He was alone. Amanda had conveniently stayed home. "Uncle Robert, thanks for seeing me." He sat down in the living room, setting his briefcase beside him. "I've been concerned about you." "Concerned? Why?" "Well, I know since Aunt Catherine passed, you've been handling everything alone. The finances, the house, everything. That's a lot for anyone, especially at your age." I bit back my anger. "I'm 67, Derek, not 97. I know. But look, I've been going over some things, and I noticed some irregularities." He pulled out papers from his briefcase. "Bank statements. My bank statements. Except they weren't really mine. The numbers had been altered. Purchases I'd never made. Withdrawals to odd amounts. See here? You withdrew $8,000 in cash, then 3 days later couldn't remember where you'd put it. And here, you paid the same utility bill 3 times in 1 month. I never did any of that. I know it's hard to admit, but this is what happens. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Cognitive decline is natural as we age." The recording pen in my shirt pocket was capturing everything. "What are you suggesting, Derek? I think you need help managing things. I've already spoken with a lawyer about setting up power of attorney. It would just be temporary, until you're feeling more like yourself. I'd handle the finances, make sure bills are paid, investments are managed properly. You wouldn't have to worry about anything." "I see. In fact, I brought the papers with me. We can get them signed today, notarized, and it'll all be taken care of." He pulled out more documents, power of attorney forms, already filled in with his name. "You've thought of everything," I said quietly. "I'm just trying to help, Uncle Robert. You raised me. This is the least I can do." I looked at him, this young man I'd loved like a son, and I saw a stranger. "Tell me something, Derek. Does Amanda know you're here?" He blinked, surprised by the question. "Of course. We both want what's best for you." "And what exactly does Amanda think is best for me?" "She agrees that you need support right now." "Support? Is that what you call this?" His expression shifted slightly, wariness creeping in. "What do you mean?" "I mean, these bank statements are forgeries. I mean, you've been accessing my accounts without permission. I mean, you've fabricated evidence of cognitive decline to try to steal my money." Derek's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do. I also think you have a doctor named Morrison ready to falsify an incompetency evaluation." He stood up abruptly. "Uncle Robert, you're confused. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're imagining things, becoming paranoid." "Sit down, Derek." Something in my voice made him hesitate. He sat. "I heard you," I said, "at the anniversary dinner, in the hallway by the washrooms. You and Amanda, talking about getting me declared incompetent. about forged documents, about running out of time before I put things in trust. His face lost all color. I didn't want to believe it, I continued. I spent 50 years building my company, building a life with Catherine. We took you in when you had nothing. We gave you everything. Uncle Robert, please let me explain. Explain what? How you decided to repay the woman who raised you by stealing from her widower. How you planned to take everything and leave Sarah and Michael with nothing. It's not like that. We have debts. Amanda's spending got out of control, and we're in deep with some bad people. We just needed some help, a loan, but I knew you'd never give us that much money without questions. So instead of asking, you decided to have me declared mentally incompetent and take it all. We were desperate. We? I leaned forward. Tell me, Derek, whose idea was this, really? Yours or Amanda's? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, quietly, Amanda said it would be easy, that old people lose capacity all the time, that no one would question it, especially with the doctor's report. She said we'd take what we needed, pay off the debts, and you'd never even know because you'd be in care somewhere. There it was, the full confession. Derek, I need you to leave now. Uncle Robert, please. Leave. And tell Amanda that whatever happens next, you brought on yourselves. After he left, I sat in that living room for a long time. Then I called Eleanor, Chen, and James, and we began planning the next steps. Eleanor filed a restraining order based on the recording and evidence. She also filed a criminal complaint for attempted fraud and forgery. The police investigated Derek's financials and found he was over $200,000 in debt from Amanda's online shopping addiction and his own gambling problem they'd hidden carefully. Dr. Morrison, the corrupt physician, lost his medical license after an investigation revealed he'd falsified competency evaluations for at least 6 other families in similar schemes. Derek and Amanda were charged with fraud, forgery, and attempted financial exploitation of an elder. The trial took 8 months. Derek pleaded guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. He got 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, and was ordered to complete counseling. Amanda fought the charges, but was found guilty on all counts. She got 4 years. The day of the sentencing, Sarah sat beside me in the courtroom. Michael was on my other side. Neither of them could believe what Derek had done. Dad, Sarah said afterward, I'm so sorry. We should have seen something. How could you? He was family. We trusted him. What are you going to do now? I thought about that a lot during the trial. I'm going to set up a trust for your kids and Michael's kids. I'm going to donate a significant portion to the Canadian Centre for Elder Advocacy. And I'm going to make sure that what Derek tried to do to me doesn't happen to other people. And Derek, will you ever forgive him? I looked at my daughter, thinking about the 8-year-old boy who'd cried in Catherine's arms the day we'd picked him up from social services. The kid who'd called me Dad for the first 3 years, until we'd gently corrected him that I was Uncle Robert. The young man who'd given the speech at Catherine's funeral about how we'd saved his life. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday, but not today. In the 2 years since then, I've thought a lot about trust and family. I've spoken at several conferences about elder financial abuse, sharing my story to help others recognize the warning signs. I helped the Ontario legislature draft better protections for seniors. I started a foundation in Catherine's name that provides free legal services to elderly people facing financial exploitation. Derek writes to me sometimes from prison. His letters are apologetic, full of regret and excuses. I haven't responded yet. I keep them in a drawer in my study, next to the photos of him as a child, of the family we used to be. Sarah asks me sometimes if I'm angry, if I hate Derek for what he tried to do. The truth is more complicated than that. I'm disappointed. I'm sad. I'm grieving the loss of someone I considered a son, just as I grieved the loss of my wife. But hate? That would give him too much power over my life. What Derek and Amanda didn't understand is that at 67, I'm not some confused old man who can be easily manipulated. I spent 40 years running an engineering firm, managing complex projects, solving problems that seemed impossible. I've negotiated million-dollar contracts and navigated business crises that would have destroyed lesser companies. Age doesn't erase experience or intelligence. If anything, it sharpens it. The money they wanted so badly? It's not really about the money. Not for me. Catherine and I lived modestly, despite our wealth. We valued experiences over things, relationships over possessions. The money represents the work of a lifetime, yes, but more than that, it represents the choices we made, the sacrifices, the dreams we built together. And they wanted to take that, not through honest need or request, but through deception and betrayal. They wanted to erase my agency, my dignity, my very capacity to make decisions about my own life. That's what elder financial abuse really is. It's not just theft. It's the systematic destruction of a person's autonomy and worth. Last month, I received a letter from a woman in Halifax who'd heard me speak about my experience. Her son-in-law had been trying to get her declared incompetent to access her home equity. She'd felt powerless and alone until she heard my story. With the help of our foundation, she got legal representation, gathered evidence, and stopped him. Her daughter divorced the son-in-law once she learned what he'd been doing. The woman wrote to thank me, to tell me that hearing someone else's story had given her the courage to fight back. That letter sits on my desk now, next to a photo of Catherine from our actual 50th anniversary, the one she didn't live to see. In the photo, she's laughing, her head thrown back, eyes crinkled with joy. That's how I choose to remember her. That's the legacy I choose to protect. Derek will be released next year. I don't know what will happen then, whether he'll reach out, whether we'll ever speak again. Amanda will be in prison for 2 more years after that. Their marriage might not survive. Their lives are fundamentally changed by the choices they made, just as mine was changed by discovering those choices. But here's what I've learned. You can't control the actions of others, even people you love. You can only control your own response. I chose not to be a victim. I chose to document, to gather evidence, to fight back legally and ethically. And in doing so, I not only protected myself, but potentially helped countless others who might face similar situations. The anniversary dinner that started all this seems like a lifetime ago now. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't needed to use the washroom at that exact moment. If I hadn't overheard that conversation. Would Derek have succeeded? Would I be in some care facility now, confused about why I couldn't access my own money, while he and Amanda spent what Catherine and I had built? It's a dark thought, and I try not to dwell on it. Instead, I focus on the present. I have my health, my children, my grandchildren. I have my freedom and my faculties. I have the satisfaction of knowing that I stood up for myself and, in doing so, helped create systems that protect others. If I could go back and change things, would I? Would I rather not know, rather live in ignorant trust until it was too late? No. Painful as the truth was, it gave me power. It gave me choice. And it taught me a lesson that I'm now sharing with anyone who will listen. Cognitive ability doesn't disappear at 60 or 70 or even 80 for many people. Wisdom accumulates with age. Experience matters. And anyone who tries to take advantage of an older person based on assumptions about mental decline is not only morally wrong, but often legally culpable. I'm 69 now. I still manage all my own affairs. I travel. I consult occasionally for engineering firms. I volunteer with the foundation. I'm considering writing a book about my experience, a practical guide for seniors and their families about recognizing and preventing financial abuse. Catherine would be proud, I think. She always said I had a stubborn streak, that once I set my mind to something, I wouldn't give up. She used to joke that it was both my greatest strength and my most annoying quality. I miss her voice, her laugh, her perspective on everything. But I can hear what she'd say now. Robert, you did the right thing, and you're helping people. That's what matters. So that's what I'm doing. Helping people, sharing my story, making sure that what Derek and Amanda tried to do to me doesn't happen to others who might not have the resources or the support system to fight back. Because, in the end, that's what this is really about. Not revenge, not punishment, but prevention, education, empowerment, and maybe, somewhere down the line, redemption. Not for Derek, that's his journey to make. but for all of us, as a society, to do better by our elderly population, to respect their autonomy, to protect their dignity, and to recognize that age is not synonymous with incompetence. That's the real story. That's the truth that came out of that anniversary dinner and the betrayal I never saw coming. And if sharing it helps even one person avoid the same fate, then perhaps something good came from something terrible. That's the best any of us can hope for, really. To take the broken pieces of trust and betrayal and build something meaningful from them. To transform pain into purpose. To ensure that our worst moments become teaching moments for others. And that's exactly what I intend to keep doing, for as long as I'm able.